violence prevention panel discussion. Paula is going to play a Jesse Jackson tribute before we get started. And then I will introduce our moderator.
You know, even though we had this technically already set, it wants to have a line of its own. So we're gonna let you go ahead and introduce Jordan, and then Jordan will do a brief introduction, we'll do the introduction of the panelists, and then we'll go.
Most definitely. I have the pleasure of introducing Jordan Johnson. Jordan Johnson is an operational leader who designs and scales statewide programs that turn vision into measurable impact. With experience across higher education and nonprofits, he aligns strategy, execution, and cross-functional collaboration to drive sustainable growth and measurable community outcomes. He is also the founder of Cincinnati 10-Point Coalition, a community violence initiative that deploys the hotspots to prevent gun violence and save lives in neighborhoods most affected. At the core of his work is a deep commitment to elevating overlooked voices, strengthening communities, and creating lasting change. Please welcome Jordan Johnson.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
While we are waiting on the Jesse Jackson tribute, I just want to thank you all for sharing your time. I want to thank the Most High for getting us all here to, talk about something that's really needed in the community. Changing the narrative. When I seen that, and when Monica and Ms. Sherman reached out to me, I was like, this is what I do every day, trying to change the narrative. So for me to get to spend an hour, 2 hours with some people that's, in the work as well, it's absolutely a blessing. So with that, I want to go to Dr. Moffitt, and then we'll go to Leonard Dean, and then I don't know if the video will be ready, if we'll roll with the panelists, but we'll see how the flow is going. So Dr. Moffitt, if you want to go first, that'd be perfect.
So everybody's looking at me because I think that they plan for me to go first. So this is I'm here. This is Among Family. I am formerly Dr. Kareem Moffitt. I sit on the Cincinnati Public School Board. I am this year's Vice President. Most importantly, I am a mom of 3 adult Black men. I have 4 grandchildren, G1 through G4, and I'm an engaged grandparent. I'm an engaged citizen. So I'm here because it is my responsibility by being elected to make sure that you have the information that I see at the table. And so that's why I'm here. Happy Black History Month. I will be as open and transparent as I can be. So I think that's it. I am a CEO of a nonprofit, I'm a realtor, all that other stuff. But here, I am just here to tell you what I see and gain information from those experts up here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Moffitt. My brother Leonard Dean, the referee. Come on, man. Bless us.
Yes, I'm Leonard Dean. I'm a basketball referee, baseball umpire, but most importantly, I'm a father of 5. I raised 4 boys on my own. That's what gave me the experience to start seeing things, going into the schools. I was very active in the schools and just start seeing things that our young Black men were needing in the school system, which helped me come up with some of the programs that I do. Right now, I'm running a program called Tools You Can Use. We run it out of the Eastern Seals over in Walnut Hills on Thursday from 6:30. From 5:30 to 7:30. We talk about gun violence prevention, conflict resolution, financial literacy, and then we do a health safety where we partner with UC Trauma Center, and they come out and do a Stop the Bleed to help teach children because they are seeing traumatic things happening to their friends right next to them. So if something should happen, you know how to stop the bleed. You know how to do those things, and they also teach CPR. So you will get certified with those things, and we have multiple things that we're trying to do with our youth to change the narrative and get them to put the guns down. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to say that's a great initiative, teaching CPR, but it really tells you where we at when we have to teach kids how to sew wounds and perform life-saving measures. So, God bless y'all for, taking that step, because it's dramatic to even, admit that,
But let's be proactive and not reactive. So that's what today is about. And with that, I will go to Magistrate Tracy Hill. I want to say thank you for your service, Magistrate Tracy Hill. If you want to introduce yourself to the bill, that'd be perfect.
You can take your microphone off, please.
Okay, all right.
It's on.
Okay, now, all right, good morning, everyone. I am Tracy Hill. I've been a magistrate with Hamilton County Juvenile Court since March of last year. And I am a magistrate over the docket in the delinquency division, which is what you consider juvenile criminal charges, even though in juvenile court, the offenses that are charged are not deemed criminal, but if they were committed by an adult, they would be. So I see a lot of our young black males primarily come to the court with various backgrounds and family situations. And so with respect to gun violence, there are a lot of guns out there, and there are a lot of gun charges that they're facing. And they range in age from sometimes 12 to much later. Juvenile court has jurisdiction until a certain age, but certainly I'm grateful to be welcome to this panel to kind of speak on the court's perspective to the extent that I can. So thank you all. This is a much needed conversation.
Thank you, Magistrate. Y'all just got one question. When the kid got court at 9 a.m., why don't we get in the court until 1 p.m.? No, I'm just playing. Man, what I do with Grow community, man, and Terrence, my brother back here, he's with Grow as well. Man, we go to court at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and we be sitting there till 2 p.m. We like, no, we gotta go. It's all a blessing when you get to get in there and advocate for the youth, man. It's purely a pleasure. And with that, let's go to Mr. Best with CRC, if you want to stand up here.
Yeah, sure. Good morning. I'm not going to use the microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, absolutely. All right. So, first of all, I want to thank Paula and her team for inviting me to be on this large panel. I also know some of the folks on the panel and work with folks on the panel and community. I serve as the director of Cincinnati Recreation Commission. And I'm a transplant from Chicago. We moved here 9 years ago, and we live in College Hill. And so my purpose and passion has always been serving young people. I did that on the south side of Chicago in Parks and Recreation. I'm fortunate that I get paid to do a job that I actually would do for free, particularly when it comes to touching young people. I just hope to be able to share what we're doing from the city of Cincinnati through CRC, what kind of work we're doing to touch young people and build young people and bring them up. And so I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
One other thing I would like to say, as an entrepreneur as well, I think, guys, spend some money with these vendors today. I will be intentionally spending money with black vendors because it is important for each other, for us to support each other. So I'm going to encourage you to do that.
Absolutely, man. Clap them up for that. For those that don't know, the title of this event outside of this panel is called Black Wall Street. So that economic piece is really foundational to get our community to the next step. So Brother Best is right. Let's spend some money today, whether it's $5, $10, $20. Let's try to get some money out of our pocket and bless these people. With that, I'll go to Malachi. Go ahead, brother.
How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? My name is Malachi Moore. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm an author. I wrote this book right here called You Are the Blueprint, Knowing Yourself So You Know Your Path. And I also got a clothing brand called Original Guys right here. The back is like we create our own reality. And so what I'm all about is like self-awareness, self-reflection, and things of that nature, because I feel like the reason these children suffer in these schools in the society and things of that nature because they don't know who they are. So my expertise and specialty is about instilling self-awareness into the youth and also instilling self-awareness into everyone in the community so we can realize the change we seek is already within us. A lot of times due to the external influences that we're around, whether it be social media, the dominant media, and things of that nature, it's like we tend to forget the power that's within us. You know, we tend to neglect the divine guidance from within us, within the higher calling of our consciousness, and also the divine guidance of our soul and the nudges of our soul. So my whole expertise and goals and things of that nature with this book is everything I stand upon is to get the youth and people in the community to be more cemented in themselves. You see what I'm saying? Because these external influences, they ain't gonna give us the right guidance. They're not gonna give us the answer. They're not gonna give us the change we seek in our life. We gotta submit to the calling of our higher consciousness and also learn more about our ancestors, where we come from and things like that, so we can be the change we seek in our life. It's hard for us to be the change we seek in our life if we ain't cemented in our culture. If we not cemented about learning about the ancestors. If we not cemented about learning about where we come from and who we are. You know, we got people like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Huey P. Newton. You know, our ancestors built the pyramids in Egypt. They even got pyramids in America. You see what I'm saying? So my whole goal and path in life is to awaken that power that's within us that's been lying dormant, so we can submit to the divine guidance that's within us. And I'm gonna just tell y'all about my journey as well. So I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, of course. I lived in Avondale from when I was born to when I was like 7. And both of my parents was on drugs and things of that nature. So when I was 7, they couldn't take care of me, my brothers and sisters, so I ended up going into the foster care system. So then when I turned 10, my mother, she took me in, her name was Falana Whitehead, she took me in and then adopted me when I was 12. You know, up until I was born, until I moved out of my mama's house, I'm gonna say. Not necessarily, but from what I just grew up around like a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, used to get into a lot of fights in school. You know, just the average young black boy experience. And so for me, it was like once I turned 19, and I was a senior year of high school, that's when things started to click. I had an African American history teacher who started teaching about our history, about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the different ancestors and things of that nature we come from. So it was like, that was a turning point, but it wasn't the whole turning point. I also had a teacher by the name of Ms. Perkins. She had a program called JCG, Jobs for Cincinnati Graduates. And she was telling me like, I think it would be good for you to be get into public speaking. So I was like, oh no, like, you know when it's something new to you, you be like, I don't know about all that, you know what I'm saying? So we worked on a speech and things of that nature, I wrote it, and then a week later go past, and I was like, and I started giving up on the public speaking, I started giving up on it, and she was like, I really think you should do this because you really got a powerful voice. So I'm saying, and that's what it takes also. It also takes people like us, the elders, the older people in the community, to see the gifts within our youth and talk to them, speak life into them, you know, instill a different program in them. So when you instill that different program in them, they'll be cemented in that confidence. They'll be cemented in that powerful self-esteem. They'll be cemented in the power that's within themselves. You see what I'm saying? So once I had a teacher that believed in me, that's when I started to realize, like, I really got a power within me that I didn't know. You know, growing up in our communities, we are taught about who we are. Nobody don't teach us about where we come from, and that's the most important thing we can teach our youth. Because if they don't know who they are and where they come from, you know, no matter how much we get them in these programs or do these different things, which is important, it's necessary. But if we are infusing these programs with knowledge of self, it won't be cemented in them. You see what I'm saying? Be cemented in their decision making. You see what I'm saying? Keep the answers on their mind, because when you think about all these other people, other cultures, they keep their ancestors on their mind. They guided by their ancestors, things and others. So it's about us instilling that into our youth, so they can be the change they seek in their life.
Absolutely.
And also, once I graduated from high school, I met this brother by the name of Jawan. He taught me about the Moors, how the Moors civilized the Europeans, and if it wasn't for the Moors, the Europeans wouldn't know how to bathe, they wouldn't know how to wash, they wouldn't, you know what I mean? So they wouldn't know about development and things of that nature. So once I started learning about that as well, it ignited a certain power in me and passion in me to take a path of self-development. And then, like, I want to say once I turned 22, I went to, I did auto body collision repair. I did that for 3 years. And then once I got out of auto body collision repair, I ended up moving to Houston, Texas for 2.5 years. I started a logistics company out there. I did a moving company, TV mount, things of that nature. But then after I left Houston, I ended up going to Africa for 9 months. I was teaching in the schools in Africa. I also got my books in the school, and also got my brand out there as well in Nairobi, Kenya. But I don't really want to be long with it. I know it's probably long-winded. I know everybody knows how to speak. The context of my background in which I come from, because we have to know who we're talking to on these panels. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to take up time, but I also, you know, we also have to introduce ourselves and let each other know who we are so we can tap into the different aspects and resources of each other. And I want to say thank you.
I'm gonna go straight into Ms. Sears. Let's go, Ms. Sears.
So, grateful day, everybody. I am Bridget Sears. I'm the Alternative Education Coordinator and Career Exploration Coordinator at North College Hill City School District. And we are the first and the only district in the state of Ohio to be doing a 4-day, 1-day blended learning. And so, thank you. My superintendent is a phenomenal innovator who decided that he wanted to support educators so that we could be better educators for our students. So one of the things that I'm going to make this not long-winded, on Mondays, which is our blended learning day where students don't come, and just so you know, K-8 parents do have an opportunity to still send their students to school, but for our high school students, on Mondays we do blended learning. And in our blended learning, we offer our students lots of career exploration opportunities. For example, we work with Cincinnati Construction Academy under the auspices of Mr. Isaias Gamboa, who teaches construction. And over the last 3 years, we've had more than 30 students working with him to learn the construction industry, which for you all who may or may not know, in Cincinnati right now, they are looking for construction workers in all aspects of it. Because we have, I think it's a $7 billion bridge, the bridge construction program, I think it's about $7 billion. Then there's another, I think, $2 billion infrastructure that's being done. So our young people need to understand the power of what they have right here because they're paying prevailing wages. And this isn't just for our young people, this is for anyone that wants to work in the construction industry. Because prevailing wages are starting around $30 an hour. So at 18, 19, they could work with a union and possibly be put on some of these jobs. We also offer a CNA and a phlebotomy program, which let me just say my business partner, or our business partner, Terry Yang, also does, just so you all know this too, so if you want her information, she does a Parent Plus program, where she'll say to me, Ms. Sears, if you have a student doing CNA or phlebotomy, I'll let the parent either do it for free or at a discounted price. So she's been feeding back into our community. We also do Tikkun Farm with Ms. Javette Williams, who's teaching our students agriculture and the importance of it. Chelsea Clark with Cincy STEM Lab does programs with us. Ebony J does podcasting. So just want you all to know, on Mondays we are providing our students with more than enough on career exploration. Also with the help of Hamilton County Youth Employment. One last thing. There are flyers up here if you all need. If you want anything, I would love for you to take it. ICRC, I got some flyers that I got yesterday for our business advisory. So please take these flyers. Know that we are offering, the community is offering lots of things for our high school students. And Hamilton County hires kids at the age of 14. Thank you.
Thank you.
employment, gainful employment leads to sustainability. So we have to have those programs and champion those programs. So I thank you for providing those programs. And with that, I want to go to my brother right here. Hey, brother.
I'm Pastor Jackie Jackson. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I want to thank Paula Sherman for inviting me to be on this panel. I'm a program manager with Everytown for Gun Safety. If you're not familiar, Everytown for Gun Safety is the largest gun violence prevention organization in the United States, right now at about 12 million strong. If you are familiar with another organization called Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, you can see them in the red t-shirts. They're actually under the umbrella of Everytown for Gun Safety. What my work is, I work on a national level with survivors of gun violence. I'm a survivor of gun violence. I was shot at 10 years old, so when I think about what young people are going through right now, not just in our city, but in this country, it really breaks my heart. Just saying, my grandson, just the most recent, I've had 10 family members murdered in Cincinnati in the last 12 and a half years. The most recent one was my 16-year-old grandson, Jackie Lavelle Jackson III, who was murdered down on the banks back on June 22nd of 2024. And just 6 months before that, his dad, my son, Jackie Lavelle Jackson II, had been shot defending his family and home out in Evanston, shot through the stomach twice, grazed on the back, defending his family and home. 6 months later, for his son to be murdered. That's 3 Jackie Lavelle Jacksons who have been shot. 2 of us wounded. My son, Jackie, that was the second time he had been shot, the second time that God spared his life. So I get that's a passion in me. So I work with survivors around the country. Everytown has a program called the Survivor Fellowship Program, which is how I actually started initially with Everytown back in 2018 as a Survivor Fellow before joining staff in 2020. What I have been able to develop with Everytown, and I find very important and a lot of times forgotten about, even though it is the demographic that is affected the most, are black men by gun violence, and unfortunately by black men. And so I was able to develop a program called Kicking It with Survivor Men, which is an opportunity for men to get into a space together because we process different, we deal with trauma different. A lot of times if we go to the doctor or if we get mental health care or if we go anything for any of our health, it's usually because our wife, our girlfriend, our partner, mommy, auntie, grandma is usually pushing us because we were taught as little boys, and I like to say we were taught to lie as little boys, unfortunately by our parents, mainly our dads, to tell us that men don't cry, walk it off, be a man, suck it up, get over it. Unfortunately, trauma didn't get that memo. And so when we are affected by trauma, we try to do that, and it affects us in such a way that it affects us as men, as fathers, as even in society. So Kicking It is a way for men to get together, come in a room with just men, and talk about trauma, talk about their gun violence experience, how it's affecting them, and also share their self-care tools that they use to be able to walk through. Also, I work with the Survivor Fellows on grief support, so I do a lot of grief support. I host a lot of grief support, facilitate a lot of grief support calls, as well as trying to help develop more ways to prevent gun violence. I'm going to stop there.
I don't have to steal a phrase that Pastor Jackson said. He said, trauma didn't get that memo. That just cuts so deep. Because, I'm from Avondale, so it's a few people from Avondale. Trauma start early in neighborhoods like that. So, we was talking at the wine about it. So this is why this panel is helpful, because we trying to change the narrative. And I thank you all for coming in with that. I'm going to go to Dr. Weiss.
Yes, correct.
You said that halfway right the first time. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Katrina White. I am a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 24-year-old and a 30-year-old, and I'm a grandmother of 3 beautiful grandchildren. So I know, I just shocked y'all because I look like I'm 20, but I am with my nonprofit organization. It's called Love Me to Life, and what we do is we raise the awareness on mental health. So education, advocacy, all of those great things. We also have partnered with Cincinnati Black Theater Company to do shoot with the cameras, and we have our lovely youth here today who are doing some filming and will be doing some interviewing later on. But what we do is we allow them to utilize their voice and telling their narrative on how gun violence is impacting them, right? Not just them, but how does it also impact the community? So what we do is we teach them how to utilize the technology aspect of things, as well as giving them the mental health pieces of things. So how do you cope with the things that are going on in the community? So just like you said, you know, trauma did not get that memo, and for a lot of us, we did experience trauma growing up, and we didn't even know that we were being traumatized. And still now today, people don't know that they're being traumatized, and we're being traumatized every day. But when we look at the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, and the adverse community experiences, that's when we kind of begin to understand what it is that we're dealing with and what we really need to do to address it. So outside of Loving to Life, I'm also a trauma support specialist, life coach, and I'm also a counselor and trainee where I do provide that mental health. I'm not going to give you my whole resume, but I am here. I am here to stay. I've been in this field for over 25 years, you know, from prevention all the way up to intervention and treatment. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm not going to go, you know, deep into anything, because I know we got to move on.
Give us a little bit. We have Miss Alexis Kidd. Miss Alexis Kidd, come on, we've been waiting on you.
Hello, my name is Alexis Kidd. I am the Executive Director of the Neighborhood House in the West End. So we house a lot of things, and so where we're connected here is we run the Trauma Recovery of Cincinnati, and although it's Trauma Recovery of Cincinnati, anyone is welcome that's experienced trauma. We have counselors and therapists that look like us. We do group support. We help some of the mothers who have lost their children launch their own nonprofits, organizations in their healing process. So we give those opportunities. We also on the preventative side, we do a lot of after-school programs, workforce development. We have like a chicken coop program, gardening program. We do culinary with our kids. We try to create that safe place for our kids to be in the neighborhood.
7 years Neighborhood Houses provides a very, very great service. That's where I remember you from.
I was saying every part of the great organizations like grow community, you know, so Cincinnati Black Theater, we can't do it alone. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Miss Latanya. Miss Latanya. I was going to try to pronounce your last name, but I don't want to butcher it.
I was waiting on you to try.
Call you Miss C, Miss C.
They do that too. I am Latanya Chichester. I am a wife, a mother of 3. All 3 of my children attended North College Hill. Thank you, Ms. Sears, because I love the Monday program for my children. It taught them financial literacy. I got one that's still will probably need to take a refresher. But I also have the honor of serving on North College Hill City Council. And I am the proud program manager of Building Futures program at the Urban League for Workforce Development. She said something, we can't do it alone. We all have to stay connected together and work together for youth. I have people coming through our doors. My program does a basic math and reading assessment. When I say basic math, 1/2 plus 1/2. They can't do it. We have to do better. We have to stay focused, investing in our children and asking them the hard questions. What did you learn today? How was your day? We have to get into those emotions. These children are angry, and we have to figure out why. So I'm not going to get long with it and go into preaching and giving a speech, but thank you.
Absolutely. If you want to pass it to Ms. Simone, yes.
I hope you can hear me. My name is Akila Salama. My experience has mostly been as a mother, but I had to be an advocate, and some things that we don't talk about. A lot of our children are not bad, but they do bad things. And the system doesn't see them the way that we do. So they do things that we don't think is called for. my experience has been, I had a son, I still have him, thank God, who's been shot 3 times. Okay, what does a mother do with that? It was on Reading Road. They also came from Avondale, right by the town center. And what they learn, they don't learn in the house. They learn outside of the house. So my experience with my son was, he was accused of murder. I need to have him here with me in Columbus at his son's birthday party. But what happened with him is something that none of us want to go through as a parent. And his outcome was he was falsely accused of murder right on Reading Road. He was accused first of shooting at an undercover cop. So there are things that they can do that we just take for granted. They say he was shooting at a cop, so we believe him. But it wasn't his case. He got arrested, but he doesn't have an arrest record. What they wanted from him was for him to snitch on a childhood friend who had killed his wife. And I mean, when we hear that our children have done things, we just cower down and say, okay, he did it because they said he did it. But he did, they gave him an 18 to life sentence and another murder. Because what they wanted from him was for him to snitch on somebody else. They put him on trial with somebody else. And what that guy got, he got it. So they gave him 18 to life. He got out in 13 because I fought hard. I even wrote President Obama. I wrote Trump. I tried to do everything I could. Eventually he got into a program, House Justice program, and they got him out in 13 years. But it's sad because they vacated the whole sentence. That's 13 years of his life. He went in at 19. He got out at 32. But they said he had to plead guilty to manslaughter in order to get out, so he couldn't get no money. We got no money to fight. So it's things that we give our children that we don't give them, and that's to stand up strong, be true to yourself. If I hadn't fought for him, he'd still be there. But he's been out now for 6 years. He has 2 beautiful sons. He's a truck driver, and he also teaches a program called Thinking for a Change. He taught that in prison. This is where you try to get rid of all of the things that you've been thinking and not be so angry, because we think we have rights that we haven't earned. And the first one is self-respect. You know, so he was in there, but he's teaching the program. And he's taught it here in the city at the Black Family Union and other programs. But it's thinking for a change, something that we don't do. We're reactive people, and we know that. So, again, I wrote a book about it, because that's the other thing we don't do. We don't tell our stories. If they could talk about being up in the attic, we could talk about being, in the real world. We don't talk about our stories. All of us in here have at least 2 or 3 stories you can tell. But we don't write. Write it down. Pass it on to your children. So, that's mine.
Fight, and I just want to pay homage to one of our ancestors that passed here recently, Reverend Jesse Jackson, a champion for civil rights, equality, and human dignity. For decades, he stood on the front lines for the struggle of justice, giving voice to the marginalized and calling for our nation to live up to its highest ideas. His extraordinary contributions were recognized with some of the nation's highest honors, including the President's Medal of Freedom, awarded by Bill Clinton. He was also a recipient of a Spring Guard Medal from the NAACP, along with numerous honorary degrees. As we observe this moment of silence, we may reflect on his courage, his unwavering commitment to justice, and the countless lives he inspired. Let us carry forward his message of hope, unity, and perseverance. So let's observe that moment of silence for a second, and then we go into our questions. Then I go into the first question. God bless Reverend Jesse Jackson. And let's stick with about probably 60 seconds per response. It's probably two responses per question. 30. She said 30 seconds. Let's do 30. What narratives about our community have caused the most harm? Let's go to Leonard Dean first. I know you got to roll.
If you ask me, one narrative about our community that does harm me is that we don't love our children. That is one narrative that I hear a lot. They don't care about their kids. They let them do whatever they want to do. That we don't love or care about our children. And that's totally false. You love your children. It's just how do you love them? Just like when you speak in love languages. A child, their parent loved them, but maybe they were raised in a family where they didn't hug a lot. So just because they don't hug their child all the time or don't do the all, I love you, they might have been raised in trauma. So in that trauma, they're loving their child the best way that they know how. So don't assume that they don't love their child. Work with them and their child to figure out the best way to show them. So I think that's something that harms our community, is believing that we don't care about our children at all.
Absolutely, Ms. Kidd.
So I'm in the West End, and I hear, even when I first got there, it was a service learning class, and I always hear like the West End is a dangerous, horrible community and all this stuff. The West End is the reason why I stayed in Cincinnati. I grew up in a small town, and so the connectedness of that community, knowing each other, knowing your neighbors, how they watch out for each other, that neighborhood is a loving neighborhood. Yeah, there's violence, there's issues, but I think when we listen to the narratives, then it separates us and we disconnect from that neighborhood. We disconnect from those people and they become others. And so I think that's one of the dangers too, not seeing each other as one.
All right, so this may not be a very popular one in some cases, but I think one of the things that is said too much in the community is about snitching. And here's the thing, if I'm not a part of what you're doing, I can't snitch on you. But the mentality is you don't tell. And working on the street as I did with community outreach, because I spent so many times at a scene where people were saying, you were out here, who did it? People were like, I'm not gonna say anything. I don't snitch, snitches get stitches, all that. But then, maybe a month later, we were back in that same community, at that same location. And this time, one of the people who didn't want to say anything is their family member. And now they're saying, I know somebody knows something, won't somebody say something? We have given carte blanche to killers and shooters to run free and walk free in our community because we're stuck on, I don't snitch. I'm never going to snitch. I'm just going to straight up tell you.
Go ahead, Dr. Murphy, then I'll run into my question, follow-up question after that.
So I'm just gonna, it's hard for me to be brief, but I'm gonna try. Two things that I think I see. One at the district level is people say, you know what, the parents just don't come. They just don't come to parent night. They just don't engage. First of all, I think engagement is a verb, so you need to meet people where they are. So if you have a parent night at Tuesday at 3 o'clock and I don't get out to 4, I'm not going to be there. So we need to vary that to meet you where you are. That means to me, that's hybrid. That means maybe we have it online, maybe we have it on a Saturday, I don't know. But we need to engage parents, because I think parents do want to know what's going on with their kids. They really do. But that whole narrative is they don't come. They don't come to parent night. They don't care about what goes on. The other narrative that I think is very dangerous, and I hear a lot of older people. My mama is 74, she'll be 74, and her friends have said this, and I've gotten them to stop this. The kid's just bad. Whoa. They're not bad. Something is going on as to why that kid might have cussed you out. And what I tell my mom and her friends is, how did you come at them? Because older people confuse sometimes reference with I can say what I want to say, how I want to say it. And these kids nowadays are like, you're not talking to me right. But at the end of the day, do you want somebody coming at you? Where you at? What you doing? I'm automatically defensive. But if someone comes at you because maybe my mama was hurting, maybe my house just don't have lights, maybe I'm hungry, maybe I had to feed my sibling, maybe I was just hungry today, I woke up on the wrong side of the road, here this lady come, talking about some garbage in her yard. Sometimes we have to back up and we have to pay attention to words that we say to each other. Because that is dangerous. If I hear you tell me that I'm bad, and I hear the TV tell me that I'm bad, and you celebrate bad things, what do you think I'm gonna do? Because that's how I get attention. I may or may not be getting the right way or the best way at home. So I think we have things to do at home, and we have things to do in our community, and the district, the school systems have things that they can do too.
We don't go Mr. Best.
Yeah, I'm going to be real quick. One is, I think part of my role on this large panel is I'm a attempt to be somewhat disruptive and just really ask or counter some things that maybe folks are saying that from my perspective and my lived experience. So the first thing I'll say is that I do think we need to do a better job as parents, period, point blank. In CRC, parents don't show up. Whether we do it online, whether we do it at their front door, we need parents to show up. The other thing that I want to say to the young people in the room, because ultimately this is about you, I want the young people to stand up in the room real quick, just for the symbolism. When I was a kid, this is what my mom used to make me do. So the young people, stand up, please.
Give them a round of applause.
If you're under 18, stand up. So what I want you to do, young people, I want you to hug yourself. Hug yourself tightly. Just hug yourself. Just hug yourself. Have you ever hugged yourself? Probably not, right? All right, so the reason, you can sit down now. The reason that I have you do that is, as a kid growing up on the south side of Chicago, growing up in poverty, growing up in the gang culture, my mom used to make us hug ourselves because the first thing you gotta do is love yourself. Hurt people hurt people. If you don't love yourself, you will not know how to love somebody else. And those of us who love ourselves shouldn't expect folks who don't love themselves to love us. We need to be conscious about that. The second thing I want to do in terms of symbolism is the men. Stand up. Every man in this room over 18, grown-ass man, stand up. Now, what I want to say to the men is, we've got to come back to our communities and take control of our families and our communities. We got to stop being on the sidelines and let our women do the work of what we should be doing. Thank you.
Man, that was a heck of a work.
Yeah, and I think, I'm gonna keep it. I think one of the things that negatively affect our communities the most is the fact that we don't believe that we're capable. You see what I'm saying? Because the program that's been passed down to us, it makes us think that we're not capable, that we're not worthy, that we're not enough, and things of that nature. So ultimately, it's about instilling into the youth that they're capable, that they're worthy, that they're enough. A lot of times when we speak life into each other consistently, they think you're a preacher, they think you too positive, you too good, but the things of that nature, how we gonna defeat the enemy on the outside if we don't speak life into each other? If we don't speak, give each other that confidence, if we don't consistently uplift each other. Because when you uplift somebody else in your community, that's an aspect of you uplifting yourself. A lot of people think, that it ain't that way, but in reality, it is. So, we built America, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm just saying, all I like to say is, we are more than capable. And our ancestors are a reflection of the capability that we are more of. You know what I'm saying? So I want to say thank y'all for hearing me out, and I appreciate it.
That was a good word. And I want to bounce this question off the men in the panel again, and we can have some women chime in. But Reverend Jackson said, people will snitch. And that was one of my questions, but we dealing with changing the narrative. So my question to you all is, and I'm only 30, so I need some context. Where did the narrative of no snitching come? Because I'm trying to break that mold myself. I done told myself it's some things that I'm gonna tell about, flat out. Like, and I don't know what it will be, but some stuff is just so egregious that you say, you know what, I want him to pay his debt to society. So I want you to go into that and begin to touch on the no snitching narrative that's ran through our community for the last couple of decades.
I just want to say to make sure that I did say I won't snitch, but then I followed that up with I'm going to straight up tell.
Okay.
So it's not that I'm not snitching because I'm not a part of your crew. I didn't do this with you, so I'm not snitching on you. I'm going to tell what you did. As a kid being shot by an adult, as having 10 members murdered, 9 members wounded in the last 12 and a half years, for me, if you are doing something, if you're killing people, if you're shooting people, I'm telling. Because if you'll kill them, you'll kill me. And I can have that, I can go with what the mentality is or the thing, snitches get stitches. Well, if somebody's going to kill you because they think you're going to tell, if they get paranoid, even if you're not going to tell, they may shut you up just to make sure you don't. So now you got killed and nobody knew who the killer is, or who the shooter is, or who the robber is. So I just wanted to make sure it was understood. I'm not snitching, because I'm not a part of your crew. But I'm going to tell, because I need you off the street. Yeah, I think that's important. Again, growing up on the South Side, I grew up in my neighborhood. There was Blackstones. Right on the next block, there would be GDs, BDs. And so at the end of the day, as a young person, I selected and was made into becoming a Blackstone. And at 16 and 17, the culture is that when you're in the organization, you're in the mob, it's part of the culture not to snitch. To his point, for folks who were not in my organization, that's not snitching. They're just observing and telling what they're saying, or what they're seeing, sorry. But I do think that is even changing across the country, because you're seeing people being faced with real life choices in real time. You get a 17-year-old and you throw, if you've seen 48 Hours, it spells it out for you. You throw 30 years at somebody 17, 18 years old, they're telling everything they know. So there is no honor among thieves, if you will, anymore.
Go ahead, Mr. Dan. I think that's a positive change, Mr. Best. Go ahead.
It is a positive change.
I think that comes from, well, I can say in my family. That came from, like, my father. He was incarcerated. His uncles and everybody was incarcerated. I'm gonna tell my story with my son. My son, he was in a cab. Him and his friends coming back, decided to rob the cab. They caught my son. We were going to court. They didn't catch the other guy. I don't know how he got there, but they didn't catch the other guy, and we're in court. And to what he said, I told my son, I was like, it's not your job to tell them. You did it. Yeah, it's going to cut some time off of you, but that's not your job. You did the crime. Face it up. You a man. That's part of what he's saying. Y'all both were together. I would never, I just always told my son, if you and another person did something together and you got caught, stand up, take it. It ain't your job to tell them who was with you. That's just how I taught him. So when we were in there, we went through this whole thing. They were trying to work out a plea bargain, and they pulled me back in that little room with the judges, and they got my son over there, they got our lawyer, and they're really telling me, like, they're looking at me like, you need to tell him to take, he'll only get 6 years. I looked at my son and I said, well, look like you're doing 11. That's not your job. So I felt, like he said, when you were involved in something and you were snitching, that's snitching to lower your time to tell on other people. But if I ain't have nothing to do with it, like I tell people all the time, if you walk over here and you shoot him in front of me, you might as well shoot both of us, because I'm telling. But snitching is different, because that means we were involved. Now that I got caught, so I'm trying to ease my time, so I'm about to tell on you. I just didn't let my son do it, and he did 5 more years because of it. But that was put into me from my father growing up in the streets and me being in the streets.
Dr. Weiss.
So, I mean, I can't speak from the snitching standpoint of things, but what I can speak from is just growing up, passed down generationally in my family, and then also
what I hear a lot from people in the community is that what stays in this house, right? What goes on in this house stays in this house. So a lot of people have that mentality of what goes on not only in my physical house that I live in, but people that I know. So I'm not telling anything that is going on here because that's our business, it's nobody else's business. So that's also one of the messages, just go back to your first question. That's also one of the messages that I think that harms our community, is that we won't tell, especially when things are going on that we really need to be talking about, we won't talk about it, so.
Ms. Salon, and then we're gonna go right next to COC committee.
In the case of my son, that's why he was killed, because he would not talk about a childhood friend that killed a white man. And we don't think anything about that, but they will use you. I don't care which way it goes, because he wound up being on a trial, the case that he was convicted of, he had nothing to do with. He was maybe on the scene, they did not really find out the whole detail, because all they was thinking about was the white man who got killed. They knew my son knew him. You know, and we have, that's the only thing we have as a bond in our community is our word. And it's really hard on a child, and I say a child, I think he was 19, to be stuck out there like he told on you. You looked at differently, you know, but also, this is what I told him, God sees it all. You know, so the truth is already out there. They can make up a story, because that's what they do. And in my book again, I put these dots there done all the time, because it can apply to anything that's done all the time. We just don't know how to break that to our children, that you will suffer, because they do this all the time. And you still suffer for what we know as people. As a people, you know, they will make up something and they don't care, because it's a numbers game to them, whether they shoot you or put you in prison. You know, so this is something that we got to understand. We really need to instill in them that snitching isn't something that we should go to jail for or look down amongst our peers, but it's reality. You know, you look as a strong man or a strong woman if you don't tell on somebody else.
Absolutely. We got to bring out the race. We got to start using the mic because we recorded. But you go next.
Oh.
Everybody, please use the mic.
So, one of the narratives that hurts our community is that we stop speaking up. We start worrying about what was within our walls. We didn't care what our neighbor was dealing with or what's going on. That ain't my problem. I'm gone over here. Or if the police are knocking on your door asking you to tell, what protection do you have after your family speaks up, after they leave and go to their suburban neighborhoods and you left dealing with the repercussions and the backlash of your child maybe may have witnessed something, and now these people are targeting you because you snitched. So it's not just somebody telling on someone, but it became a protection for your own family not to say anything because you didn't want to deal with that backlash. I have to live here daily life.
So I want to give you an example of something that a student told me with regard to schools, because we're talking about community. But I want to give you an example of what a student told me. I had a girls program in Price Hill, and we have had guns attempted to be brought into our schools. We have had guns that have been in the community, and that, you know, we found them. So I asked some of my students in this girls program, I said, do y'all know when they're going to be doing things in the schools? You know, do y'all know? Because the kids know this stuff. They just are not telling. And this particular group of girls who I have built a relationship with, this one young lady said, yeah, we know when stuff is happening. And I said, well, why don't you tell me? You know, just give me a heads up. She said to me, because if I tell you or another trusted adult, you have to tell. And then they're going to know who told. And now I'm a target. So I wish I could tell you, Dr. Moffitt, but I can't.
Do you know why we have to tell? Because we have now put in place policies that we are now mandatory reporters. So we created a system that doesn't protect them. We have policies and procedures that block, I don't want to say, the telling. Just tell them, because they're not safe. And that was a student that told me that. She was like, I knew this was going to happen, but I can't tell you. So when you really step back and think about it, and I'm not talking about broader community, I'm talking about just stuff that goes on in their school system. They know what's going to go on. Because things that happen in the neighborhood come into schools. And that's one of the reasons why there was a cell phone ban. People don't like that, but the governor did that. But in part because we have had situations where in between classes, now you get 2 minutes, in between classes, you say something to me, I say something to you, somebody's videotaping it, and your granny and 5 other aunties and uncles in the neighborhood people are waiting by the time school gets out for you. And now you and call your granny, your uncle, and we got a problem. So people, and that happens in between classes. So we don't, and they're not telling because we're mandatory reporters. So they all knew it was gonna go on. They all knew that what was coming, and they did not tell one person. I've had students tell me like, Dr. Mark, don't go outside right now. Don't go outside. I'm like, what you talking about? Don't go outside. Well, I'm telling. Because that's a safety issue. But now we have to figure out, as adults, since we thought it was great to have these policies, how do we protect our kids? So I would say, well, I can't tell you who told me directly, but somebody said this, just to try to protect them. And kids will trust you when they know that they can trust you. Yeah. So I think that question is very poignant, but from just a teacher, an academic, a concerned parent, a citizen standpoint, we gotta look at some of the systems that are in place that we thought were great, that may be prohibiting and encouraging some of the behaviors and actions that we're getting right now. That's a true conversation that we need to have with each other.
I wanted to say right quick, just what happened, we saw on the news, where all those children went into the store. That started with one person. It could have been worse. They could have had the cops there if somebody had told somebody. A lot of them would have been arrested, but some of them could have been killed. That was really amazing to me. How many of those children ran in there, I don't know what they got, they had it, masks on and nothing else, and ruin their whole lives about nothing. And they think it's all fun.
We'll take 2 more. We go Mr. Jackson, Malachi first.
Yeah, and I want to speak to the point where she talked about speaking up. And it's very important for us to value the youth that do want to speak up, speak life into the youth that do want to speak up. And a lot of times, when we get in rooms like this, or even in classrooms, we be scared to ask questions, we be scared to speak up and speak out. We have to incentivize people speaking out. We have to incentivize the youth who do decide to speak up and speak out. If we want the behavior to change, we have to incentivize good behavior and those youths that do want to speak out, because it is about the youth. Youth gun violence prevention. So I'm just speaking in terms of affirming the positive aspects that the youth come out with. We have to, we incentivize the bad behavior. We want to, say if the child been doing bad all week, he do good on one of the days, and then we'll reward him. But what about the child that's been getting all A's and B's throughout the whole semester? You see what I'm saying? So we got to continue to incentivize good behavior if we want good turnarounds in our community.
Reverend Jackson, then I got my next question. We probably do 2 more questions, but I'd like everybody's participating.
Okay, so just to, one, I'm going to say, to be responsible, I'm giving you my perspective, but I've given you my perspective. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm telling you where I am, and I'm saying that because there have been a lot of different opinions on it. But I do want to say, when we talk about, and I really hate the term snitch, because the term snitch puts such a negative spin on something. But when we're talking about gun violence, I've worked with families from Tamir Rice, with the organization I work for. If you know them in the media for gun violence, I probably work with them. And then a billion names, but a lot of names that you've never heard of. For a lot of these people who are trying to find out as I am, who killed my grandson, and a lot of families who want to know who killed or shot their loved one. Sometimes it's the person with that person that can give that information. And for a family who is looking for answers, yeah, I want their partner. The person who killed my grandson had a getaway driver. It was some argument over a bottle of water, but somebody drove him away. I want that person who drove the car. I could care less about honor among thieves. First of all, they're thieves. So bump the honor. I want them to say who killed my grandson. And so many parents, sisters, cousins, children want to know who took their loved one's life. So I get saying that if they're together, they shouldn't talk. No, you should still be willing to bring some peace, some closure to someone's family, and especially if you are a part of the cause for disrupting, because gun violence does not just affect that family, that nucleus, it spans out to the rest of the family, to the community, how late stores stay open, how late you can go here, how police your community. And when we start getting the shooters off the street, and especially the ones killing our children, I'm 65, I know I look 30, I'm 65. The worst I dealt with as a teenager was getting a black eye, busted lip. I didn't worry about getting shot when I got shot at 10, but my point is, it wasn't a normal thing. Now our babies are more worried about getting shot. In fact, I'm gonna say this in closing. Gun violence for our children is the #1 killer. It used to be automobile accidents. It stopped being automobile accidents a few years ago. Gun violence is the #1 killer of our babies, and whether you snitch, whether you did it and tell on yourself, I want you in jail and I want some peaceful families.
You are correct. The number one factor to black men, I'm going to say, is about 12 to 34 or 12 to 26, that range. The #1 killer of black men and black families is homicides. So, when we change the narrative, and this is going to go into my next question, we have to see what we are intaking on the media level. My next question is, how does social media, music, and mainstream media define how we see success, power, and respect? And I will just let everybody go. Make sure to use the microphone, and then we're gonna have one more question because we gotta close soon.
What I find as an educator is our students are looking outside of themselves for what can only be found within them. Many times as adults, we are not remembering that we have to feed their souls. And it starts from birth, and really when they're inside of a mother's belly. It starts from the very beginning that we must feed our students, our babies, the positive. We can talk about all this other stuff, but we need to feed our kids the good. When my students come to my office, I say to them, you are so beautiful, and I know that you are intelligent, and I just want you to know that your life matters. Who you are matters. Who you are makes a difference. My young men, I say to them, I want you to know the power that's within you. I want you to know that you are valuable, that you're handsome, and that it's okay to be intelligent. I have to say to them many times, it's okay to be black, male, and smart. It's okay for you to enjoy reading. It's okay for you to enjoy doing math. Your life matters, who you are matters, and what you do and don't do matters. And as adults, it super matters that what we say and don't say, do and don't do for our children will change their lives. So I implore you to make sure that you're saying to your children, nieces, nephews, kids on the street, that they matter, that their lives matter, that what they do matters. And what they don't do matters. We change people's lives every day by what we say and don't say, by what we do and don't do. So feed our kids, because they are not bad. They may make some poor decisions, and there are consequences to those things, but it is just a lesson that had to be learned. It is not the end of their lives. It is just a bump in the road sometimes that they need our support to get back over.
I'm gonna try to be brief. Social media is part of, is impacting our education of our kids. And just in case you didn't know, there is a war on the minds of our children. From the federal level, state level, local level, flat out. And we as adults, I'm not saying just parents, as adults, we need to be where our kids are in social media. Because social media is impacting elections, it's impacting self-esteem. My son, who is 24, my youngest, he's pretty cool. He sends me music and stuff, and some of it I've never heard of, but I listen to a lot of it because people are angry, and they're telling you what they're angry about in the music. So instead of being up here high up, oh my God, they're cussing. Oh my God, they're smoking weed. You need to be listening to what they're saying because they're very angry. They're telling you why they're angry, and they're actually telling you what they're going to do. My son, who's 24, sent me this TikTok or Instagram, one of the social media reels that had been created before the election, and it was talking about how black people shouldn't vote. And it was talking about how black people don't vote, historically, the Republicans, Democrats, and it was like 30 seconds of crap. And he was like, Mom, listen to this. And it had been shared like 12,000 times. And I was like, take that off of there. And then I almost, let me tell you about myself, I almost shared it to say, don't listen to it. Do you see what we're doing? I'm contributing to the delinquency of my people by sharing it to tell them not to contribute, and I'm doing the same thing. Wrong. But my son trusted me enough to send it to me. It was something he was watching on something quick, 30 seconds, and it's in your mind. We have to speak the words to our kids when we see them. Fixing your crown takes nothing away from mine. And let me tell you this. I was at the Banks, this is a quick story, I was at the Banks, this little 10-year-old girl, we were both walking up to the little ice cream truck. And I walked up to the little girl, just because I say this every time, I said, hey, beautiful. Do you know the little girl told me, she said, hey, beautiful, I needed that today. Going on at 10, you are beautiful today. But then she told me, she was like, hey, this little girl preaching to me. I'm like, there's somebody wrong. It's like, you're talking to me. But it gave me perspective, and it reminded me to say hello, beautiful, to everybody. Yes. Because I don't know what you got going on. You don't know what I got going on, but you might have needed to hear that. So it's about something that you can do right now. Because you telling me that I'm beautiful, you telling me that this was a good job, takes nothing away from you. At all.
Mr. Banks.
I'm gonna be brief. That's a very deep question you asked. And what I would say to everybody in the room is that there's documented evidence that there were meetings behind the scene for the music industry to exploit rap music as well as R&B the way that it's being exposed to us today. And so what I would say, and one of the, again, my lived experience is that one of the things that I see in Cincinnati is that young people here are trying to identify with Chicago, LA, other places in the drill culture, in the street culture, and that is hurting our community, and that needs to change.
Let me touch on something, then I'll go to Mr. Dean. You know, that's powerful when you say it's a group of people behind the scenes that's trying to dictate the music that we get. You know, I kind of believed that until I heard Ice Cube, the original NWA. You know, that era of gangsta rap really kicked off the real raunchy rap. And he said it was people coming to the studio with committees telling him to say, you have to fit this narrative when you write. We don't want no positive rap. You know, we had For Real go platinum, triple platinum with a song called I'm Happy. But where are the other songs like that? Why are we getting saturated down with talking about kill our brother. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, we wake up thinking about killing our brother. I'm not encouraging violence. But he said, when have we ever woke up thinking about killing a white man? And that was powerful. Because guess what? We wake up thinking about harming ourselves, and you are ourselves. And I'll go down to whoever, Mr. Dean wanted to answer questions that we can go back and forth. But I think this is a great question.
I just want to real quickly follow up on that, just so that people also understand where I was going with that. So at the end of the day, when you think about the music that we're listening to and that young people listen to, we're the only demographic in the country that misogynizes our women, that talk about killing each other. There's no other group on the planet Earth that they're selling that kind of music to other than us. And we got to think about what that means when young people hear, I got to get the bag, or I got to do this illegal thing to get the bag, or I got to, shoot my brother, or I'm in this mob, they're in this mob. And so we're the only group of people on the planet Earth that is listening to that junk. That the corporate America is actually making money off of that junk. And so we gotta wonder, it's not just by happenstance. That is a real design by the enemy, and we need to understand that.
Go ahead, Dr. Weiss.
Just call me Dr. K.
Dr. K.
Special K, not Special K.
Special K.
No, seriously. So when we look at the stats, so there's a local regional stats that was done by Prevention First. So their 2024 statistics says, when it comes down to mental health for youth, 54.3% of the time, screen time affects their mental health in a negative way. Conversely, when we look at video games and how it affects the schoolwork, 14.2% of the youth says that video games impact their schoolwork. So we're looking at these statistics with our kids and how it's impacting them. And just knowing that, okay, the screen time, and we have like all of these junk TV, I like to call it junk TV, this reality TV stuff that people are binging on, and we ask, well, how's it really impacting our youth? Do we see a change? Yeah, because they think that that's the way I'm supposed to live. Just had this conversation not too long ago with some other people. When we're looking at that as that benchmark for success, benchmark for life, I'm supposed to be, hey y'all, what's going on? What? But that's not reality, right? That's the reality for that TV show because they're getting the ratings. That's what we're supposed to do, is have all this drama and so forth for ratings, not for everyday life. But people take that and misconstrue that to be that this is how I'm supposed to live my life. If I'm not living like this, then I'm not living life. So that's one thing. And then I heard something else that someone else said. And when we look at for youth, just one moment, because I got this topic I wanted to share with you guys when it comes down to like looking at youth and stress. So a lot of times we don't think, Dr. Mark, you had made a mention of that. A lot of times we don't look at the fact that our youth also are dealing with stress, their own individual stressors, and it can be for a variety of things. We already talked about where the communities that we're living in can cause some trauma. But 47.2% of our students say that they generally feel stressed a lot. These are our babies. These are local stats. I'm not talking about national stats. I'm talking about greater Cincinnati stats. So we have to make sure that we're mindful of that and understand what our children are going through and what they're dealing with. Because a lot of times, and I know when I grew up, okay, I know I'm not going to know with y'all, but a lot of times growing up, you used to hear, oh, you don't have no stress. You're not paying no bills. You're not doing this. You're not doing... You 10, what you know about stress? Oh, honey, believe me, when I go outside this door, there's a lot of things that's going on, and I need to make sure
sure that I have a trusted adult that I can talk to. And I know being a mandated reporter, that makes it a little tricky because I can't tell you that I'm feeling this way or that all these things are going on because now it's going to come back to me. So now I'm stressed about that and I don't know how to juggle all these things. So yeah, so we need to just be mindful and pay attention to all of those things as well as making sure that we're connecting people to resources. So I'm not one to just bring up the problem of what else is the solution. It's connecting people to the resources, right? If you can be that trusted adult, if you can say, okay, it can't be me, then I'm gonna tell you to go to Dr. Katrina because she can be your counselor or wherever you need to go, right? So I know that was a cheesy word.
I want some other people to tell you today. This is a widespread thing. I believe plays a part. It's a changing the narrative. It's changing stuff that we had to go ahead and
And yeah, you did mention social media. So for me, like, just my journey of self-awareness since I've been like 19. Ever since I've been like 19, I've just been on social media, showing me out in the community, showing my experiences in Africa, showing my, me out in the community, selling my book, to get people in my peer group inspired to be different, to be inspired to be themselves and leaders and things of that nature because, we in the age of information, we got social media, we got the music. So for the youth in here that is on social media, just post good content. If you into poetry, post your poetry. You know what I mean? If, the parents in here, get y'all children into music, teach them about learning pianos or instruments or teaching them about becoming council members. We have to incentivize the good behavior. We have to teach our youth about getting more involved in the council, getting more involved with instruments, getting more involved with martial arts. And then when our youth get involved in these things, we can post them on social media or we can create this content because it's creating a new narrative now. Once we post a positive aspect of ourselves. If your children are an inventor, they like to invent, post that on social media. Because nowadays, like a lot of people, say social media is destroying us, which it is. But the beautiful part about social media nowadays is we can showcase who we are. We can control our own narrative, our own media. You see what I'm saying? So the power is truly in our hands with our phones. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's about posting the different interests and different gifts that we gonna be tapping into so the people we come in contact with or our peer group can see the change within themselves because they see the change within us or whoever is posting the positive content and making them key contributions to the community and society and things of that nature. Peace.
I think social media is a mess. It's wrecking a whole lot of things, but you can use it positively if you can. I try not to, with my children, social media was a way for them to try to get likes, popularity contests, and I start noticing they will go against what they were taught to get more likes from these people who don't give a damn about it. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of things with social media that I'm not with. I'm a realtor now, so I got to get used to putting things on social media. But before that, it was not a big thing of mine. And when you talk about music, I just go back to my generation. I'm 57 years old. We listen to Chuck D, KRS-One, and all the messages in our music, fight to power. It was telling us about life, how we could come together as a community. And then came, like you said, NWA. And when NWA came, everything changed. They started talking about our women in a negative way. They started glorifying selling drugs, having drugs in the community. And just from growing up in the belief of how we got behind music and how that really changed me, I was never pro black anything until I started listening to Chuck D and started listening to KRS-One, and it changed my concept on life. It changed how I looked at my community. And then you come with NWA and you come with all this rap now, and all they doing is tearing down your community. And I noticed that our kids are trying to live the lifestyle of this music that's taking you to the penitentiary or to death. So that's my stance. I watch everything my kids, I got grown, my boys grown. And I see something stupid on social media, I'm the first person in front of all your friends on your post, get this. You know what I mean? I'm going to embarrass you right now because I want you to know. So I really think that social media, you can use it for positive, but we need to teach our children in our community how to use it for positive and quit letting all the negative aspects of social media take control. And with that, I have to go. I got to
Our best basketball game was that was powerful. And I do, this is a very serious, I do have to shout out my wife. She's a real estate agent. Go ahead, Reverend Jackson.
And so what I want to say is, on this panel, it's an honor to be on it, there's a wealth of knowledge, expertise. We got a lot going on, but you know what we don't have? This is about youth. And it's all of us talking about what's going on with youth and what should happen with youth and why you think. But what we don't have, and that I have found in my work, rather with every town when I work for the city, is that most of the time in these conversations, talking about youth, we are not getting the youth perspective. And the youth are the ones that's being affected. So we put a lot on youth. They should do this. Parents should stop listening to Shake Your Booty, blah, 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 when you got your babies in the car. I listened to Richard Pryor when I was a kid, only because I happened to find the albums that were hidden. And when my parents were gone, and I knew they were gone, I put on Richard Pryor. I didn't know they had it, had never heard of a Richard Pryor until I was stupid. Nowadays, kids here, I'm gonna shoot you up, I'm gonna turn you up, flip you over, turn you upside down, I'm gonna come in, I got the drugs, and unfortunately, our babies are hearing it a lot of times at home. Our girls are twerking because mama and grandma is twerking. So when we put a lot on our children that they need to do, something you said, as parents, we need to adjust some of these things and stop making it all, and I'm not, I want to be careful, I may be coming off wrong, I don't want to come off wrong.
Be real.
But we got to stop all this, all the time. Kids need to, parents need to, adults need to, we need to regulate what they hear. I grew up in the do as I say, not as I do era. But the difference was I didn't see my daddy doing all this and telling me don't do it. Because when your daughters see you doing it, I don't care how much you say don't do it, you are their examples and they're going to do it. When you're smoking a blunt with your kid or your 18-year-old, let me tell you something, I ain't been a preacher all my life. Now, I was a mess at one time. I did some stuff. The one thing I didn't do it was with my kids. Even when they got grown. Because I don't care if you're grown. I'm still your daddy. You still my child. And so when we look at that, I'm saying that to say, and I'm going to stop and say this because you touched on it about music. I am a recording artist. Obviously not a big one because you don't know who I am. But I am a recording artist. And I've been in the industry since Hitler was a private. And I'm going to tell you what they do when you sit in that meeting. When you sit with an executive and you only got 2 N words, 1 B word, and 2 MS words, they will tell you, like he said, go back in the studio and you need to add some more N, some more F, some more this. And if you don't, we're going to shelf your project and you are not going to make any money and we're not going to promote your project and you will just sit here because we got you for 5 years and we ain't going to do nothing. So either you eat or you stand on your principles. And for a lot of people who they have spent their whole life and their families are dependent on that money, they decide to eat. And so they go back in. A lot of these artists do not want to do the negative rap, the negative stuff. a lot of these women don't want to sing about the stuff that they sing, but if they gonna make money, and that's how they do it, that's how they do it. I just wanted to share that part about the industry.
Magistrate Hill, did you have something?
It's the glorification of the ratchetness. Say it again? Glorification of ratchetness. We got 12-year-old girls who think they need wigs, lashes, and makeup. My grandmama, I had hairballs, knockers, and beads at 12 years old still. Could not even imagine growing up in this world that they have to live in. When I was a kid, when I went home, the influence at my house was in the house. Now, when they go home, the influence is on their phone. That is raising them right now. And to his point, we're having these conversations, but we don't have them at the table. We don't have them in the room. We can't fix the problem without talking to the people who are experiencing the trauma. So we as adults have to do better and be more intentional in breaking them to the table, because they have things a lot to say, but no one's listening. So we do have to stop letting our kids watch grown women on TV with $1,000 outfits and throwing drinks and climbing across the table, fighting each other for nothing. We got to stop how our children are influenced. We can't let that influence them. To his point, your parents in the drop-off line, you can smell the aroma in the air when you're dropping your kid off in the morning. You can hear the type of music your child is getting motivated to come learn. And we're asking them to grow in that environment. That's very hard to do. We're asking a lot of them.
We're gonna close with this.
So, to your point, I'm sorry, you go ahead. I was gonna say, to your point, Pastor, one of the things I did before I headed out the door, I have 2 little ones, and they're still small, so they were like, where are you going? I said, I want to be on a panel talking about young people. Oh, can we go? I said, no, you can't go because you're not ready. I gotta get out of here. I said, but what do young people need since you're the young people? Love, our mommies, our daddies, and I forgot the last name. But they're like, love, our mommies and our daddies. I'm like, I'm gonna take that to them. So I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention that. But I'm like, their voices matter. And as long as they can still have a platform, a place that they can be heard, that's important. But our kids are also eating. We're eating. I got a plate in front of me, I'm eating that plate. But I'm also eating, my mind is eating. And so, healthy diet, making sure our kids have a healthy mind diet. Yeah, they're gonna watch some stuff that's a little crazy at times, but it can't be fully, that's all they consume. And so, just regulate our kids' diets in terms of their music, regulating what they're watching, and even if they're watching something, reality check in the middle of this. Yeah, you watching that, but that's not real. People don't live like that. They don't even live like that. So the reality of, no, we're not buying a house like that. They rent that house to have this video. They don't live like that. So I think that the healthy mind check, the healthy diet where our kids are eating, and continue to make sure they have those voices is going to be critical for us.
Magistrate Hill, we'll go to about 15 seconds, closing words for everybody. We'll Ms. Paula to play the Jesse Jackson tribute.
All right, thank you all. So I have a unique perspective because I actually do get to speak to the youth because typically what happens, the process is just like it would in adult court. They come in for their initial pretrial. I understand some of you have to wait a little longer than others, but a lot of times we're waiting on attorneys and other advocates and GALs and just a host of people. But typically before there's a trial, they come in front of me. I may see them remotely. They may appear on the screen by Zoom. Sometimes they come in person. I will ask for them to come in person if I perceive that something else is going on during the hearing because, the hearings are supposed to start at 8:30. They don't always, but by the time the family gets into the courtroom, into my courtroom, they're irritated, but not necessarily because of the wait. It could have been because of whatever happened in the morning before they got to court, or they're just a whole host of things that they're dealing with But the charges, in a lot of cases, are serious. There's some misdemeanors, but there are felonies. A lot of them are they're carrying concealed weapons, receiving stolen property, they've robbed somebody off the street, for just a whole host of things. Most of the things you've probably seen in adult court, you will see in juvenile court. And to the question about social media, there is a lot of glorification. From my perspective, when social media is involved, it's because they made a post on social media, right? They're in front of someone's house and they're flashing a gun because they're trying to emulate either what they hear in the music or even what they see on TV. So when it gets to the final hearing, either the final pretrial or the trial, usually at final pretrial, there's some kind of plea agreement, right, that's worked out. I have the states read the facts, and then it's my turn to address the youth, and I have to tell them, okay, before you admit to this charge, right, you're giving up certain constitutional rights. Namely, you're giving up your right to have the state prove these allegations against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You're giving up your right to make the state present any evidence and witnesses it has. You're giving up your right to challenge the state's witnesses as well as present your own in your own defense. But most importantly, you're giving up your right to remain silent, which means if I have questions about what happened, you're agreeing to answer them for me, okay? So we go through all of that, and so usually they will admit to the charge because whatever the facts are, I don't know whatever all the terms of the haggling between their attorney and state prosecutor, but eventually they will present to me a plea agreement. So they admit, I have to make sure, do you understand what you're admitting, right? Because I know your defense attorney probably just told you, okay, just say yes, but I can tell when they really don't understand. And I say, Mr. So-and-so, and I try, as you know, some of the other panelists have talked about, speaking life into them, I will address them as Mr. or Miss, okay? Because I want them to understand, okay, you are deserving of respect. So I try to make sure that in my hearings at least, I try to incorporate that. So I look at them and I said, Mr. Miss, so tell me what happened. And you get a whole host of reasons, but this is their opportunity to speak on what happened. And so they're telling me, well, my friend said, let's go here. And I'm saying, and I tell them, I say, tell me why that wasn't a good idea, okay? Just so they can articulate, right? And a lot of times, they don't know. They don't know why they did it. So, I'm from the generation where my dad used to call people that didn't necessarily do the right thing knuckleheads, right? And so it gets their attention. I'm like, you're trying to go with knuckleheads. They're taking you in a different direction. You need to want better for yourself. I want you to want better for yourself. You understand? Sometimes they're like, yeah. Okay, what do you want to do with your life? Okay, I don't know. I guess X, Y, and Z. So whether they have a probation officer, their attorney, the court's job, at least we see our job, as trying to connect them with services. Sometimes with respect to the parents really need a lot of help too, because if the parents are failing, the kid's gonna fail. The kid can't take care of themselves, right? So I do get a chance to see and hear, and I've heard everything from, I felt fear, they were gonna jump me, there's these community guns, right, where they know what bush around what building to go get, because they're trying to defend themselves. Is it a good decision? No, but they're young, frontal cortex isn't fully developed yet, so in the moment, this is a very good decision in their mind. They think that I need to protect myself. So we have that conversation in court. Sometimes my hearings may go a little longer because I realize these are my kids, right? We were talking about a little earlier. I see myself not just as a magistrate, I'm auntie, right? And so I try to engage the parents. The parents are frustrated because they don't have the help they need. So, with respect to the youth being heard, I guess I'm in a more unique situation because I do get to address them, particularly because if there are what we call repeat offenders, frequent flyers, right, that come back. And at the end, because I know, and I tell them, I said, I'm only going to have a few words to say to you. You're going to go back into your same environment, and I need to give you maybe some words, something that you can take with you when you go back. I said, so if people are trying to say, hey man, you know, let's go break into these cars, I said, you need to make something up, right? If you have to say, my grandmama's sick, right? I need to be somewhere to safely extract yourself out of that situation so that next, I said, it's not if, it's when, right? You're gonna be back in this situation. And so try to give them the words and the narrative to present just in case, you know, or when the eventuality eventually does happen. But when they come back sometimes, again, they have that look like, because they'll reassign them. If their case is finished, but they go back out, and let's say they pick up a new charge, and they're back in front of me, because they will assign that same kid back in front of me. So when they walk in the courtroom, they're like, But maybe, so I had a kid, and I tell them, I'm rooting for you. I want you to do well. I said, you want to do well for yourself? I said, you know, we're all here for you. And what happens, what I've seen at least when I first took the bench, is that you have this African-American child, and you have a whole room full of people that don't look like you, right? And this is just another case sometimes, right? And so I know that I have a unique ability to speak and say, from their perspective, I understand where you're coming from. I came from some of these communities too, okay? But what I need you to do, and I know it's not easy, I need you to say no. And I'm not trying to be Nancy Reagan to just say no, but just to equip them with the language of what, and the actions of what to do when you're faced again. And so they'll come back, and moms who were maybe adversarial with their own kids, they'll come back and I'm like, how are you doing, Miss So-and-so? And they understand that I'm speaking to them as one of their own. And so I had a hearing before, recently where I said, how is, you know, so-and-so doing? And she said, she's doing good. I'm thinking, wow, the mom's really positive. She's like really excited to report to me that after, you know, 6 months, things are going well.
Absolutely.
And so, and I said, tell her, I said, does she know I'm rooting for her? She said she knows, and then the youth spoke up and said, I do know, thank you, right? And so,
And with that, let's go ahead and close the tribute, and let's all connect out the words. I want to grab some pictures. Go ahead and show.
Before I play this, I'm praying technology still works. Before I play it, I just want to thank all the panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for being here. I want to thank Monica Dianco. Monica, raise your hand, please, so everyone can see you. She was very instrumental in getting the panelists speakers, so thank you. Thank you to Jordan from Grove Community. Thank you all panelists. This was amazing. I'm hoping everyone was able to take something with them to share with someone else if it's not for you.
To change the narrative.
To change the narrative. So there are things out there to help prevent you gun violence, and you're that. I also want to thank the group back there. Shoot with a camera. That young group back there. They found something to be invested in, not only for now, but for the future. So we need more photographers and more videographers. So I just want to thank that group for being here for that. So with that, yeah, don't forget, thank you, Daniel Betts, for telling them to shop, because we definitely want that to happen. Give me a moment, I'm going to play this. I'm going to thank AI, because I know this is where this really came from, and someone sent this to me. Let's see if I can get the volume. I'm just